So Tamil Nadu, as we have discussed during the course of today's discussion, that it accounts for 10% of India's GDP. In fact, it is the second highest GDP earning state in the country. It's also sixth largest in terms of population. It's 10th largest in terms of geography. It sends 39 MPs to Lok Sabha. In fact, number 5th after, if we count Maharashtra, Bihar, West Bengal, and one more state. So, it's natural that this state will aspire to provide leadership in the political landscape. And as we discovered today that there are 3 chances when Tamil Nadu could have given India a prime minister. That didn't happen because of circumstances. Now there has been a time, especially after this BJP government coming to power and Congress slide happening, there is a discussion about third front in the national discourse. And with Tamil Nadu sending 39 MPs to Lok Sabha, there is always the possibility of the party having the maximum number of seats from Tamil Nadu, providing that leadership to that so-called third front or federal front. And this time DMK is in that position. So in that context, I'll start the discussion. But let's get the basics right first. Whether the country needs a third front or not. So I'll come to first to K Pandiarajan. Does the country really need a third front?
First, let me thank you for giving me the opportunity. State of states, I'm very delighted that India Today, for 4 years in succession, gave number 1 to Tamil Nadu. So the Tamil Nadu first is the theme that you have, and let me thank you for it. And all the 4 years, it was ruled by AIADMK, because the last report that you published was 2021 March end, and the last 4 years, Tamil Nadu has remained as number 1. And on that bedrock is the statement that you made about 4% of population in Tamil Nadu, 4% of geography, 6% of population, 10% of GDP. That's what Tamil Nadu contributes to India. So that has been on the bedrock of social justice philosophies, which have been anchored for a long time, and as a party which, representing the party which ruled Tamil Nadu for almost 30 years, out of the last 50 years, AIADMK has major contribution to make. The political question that you raised about whether Tamil Nadu will again be pioneering creation of a federal front, my response to it is 1, AIADMK is attempting to make NDA as federal as it can be. That is the position that I like to take first, number 1, because the stated philosophy of the NDA is cooperative federalism. So federal as definition, I would like to interpret it like this. I don't want to see it as a third front necessarily. Yeah, the United Front, the National Front, the times when VP Singh, Mr. Deva Gowda and Mr. I.K. Gujral got emerged as the Prime Minister of sort of a consensus Prime Minister at some points in time. The commonality in all these fronts was they were short-lived, and they were all having DMK as a constituent. And some of them, DMK actually attempted to create fronts at some points in time, as they are currently attempting to keep the plank of social justice and attempt to weave a front around a theme of social justice. So as of now, our thing is, as you rightly said, thrice we could have had a Tamilian become a Prime Minister. Perundalivar Kamaraj had the opportunity. He actually gave it and identified Mrs. Indira Gandhi as the Prime Minister. Second time it was Kalaignar. Third time it was Mr. Moopanar. All the 3 times it was under some kind of a transition where the only time in India over the last many years of independence where a regional leader declared herself as a Prime Minister candidate was Madam Amma at that point in time. Modi or Lady kind of a statement he made very powerfully and actually won 37 seats at that point in time. And that was a point in time where there was again a live chance of a Tamilian become a prime minister. Unfortunately, at that time, BJP won by itself, 2014 at that point in time. So we didn't have the opportunity. The coming elections, parliament elections, in my view, will see a federal front emerge where NDA will become a lot more truly federal, as its stated intent, where all the allies, they would be a lot more dependent, is what my projection is, which would mean that every one of the alliance partners will have a stronger role to play, making the front truly federal. That's the projection that I see from my party point of view.
Before I go to other guests, I'll go to your colleague from BJP, your alliance partner actually, Mr. Srinivasan. He is saying that AIADMK will ensure that the NDA becomes more federal, which means that the BJP numbers will drastically go down, because at the moment BJP is ruling all over. So that's the only way. So how do you react to that? His aspiration is directly hurting your interest.
வணக்கம். இந்தியா டுடே கான்க்ளேவிலிருந்து நடக்கிற இந்த கருத்தரங்கத்திற்கு you have named it as Tamil Nadu first. Let Tamil be the first in this conclave. So I don't think my good friend K Pandiarajan, he pointed out his own interest. He was insisting that at the present NDA setup, the very setup itself, it represents the cooperative federalism. Whenever the third front experiment took place in this country, be it 89 by the Honorable Prime Minister Chandrasekhar, in 96 it was by Deve Gowda and Gujral, all the experiments failed miserably. So we must understand, if any party or any front which is termed as third front, third, the very word third is dangerous to Indian democracy. Somehow the present setup under NDA and the other alliance coalition as UPA is serving best interest for both Tamil Nadu as well as the whole of the country. My question is, what is the necessity to form a third front now? If it is third front, it must be divide of Congress, it must be divide of BJP. I want to raise my simple question to my good friend representing DMK and Elangovan here. Are they ready to send out the Congress from their alliance today? Are my Peter and is he ready to make some alliance divide of DMK now? It will be disastrous to both of them. So they may not be interested to build a third front at this stage. But this very idea as federal front, it was mooted by Chandrasekhar Rao in Telangana. Because he couldn't keep alliance with the BJP, neither with the BJP nor with Congress. So it was easy for him. If Mamata Banerjee, she speaks of third front, federal front, it is easy for her because she opposes BJP, she is opposing Congress. So some parties in Tamil Nadu, either aligning with Congress, even communist. In Kerala, the communists, they are playing the role, anti-Congress role. In Tamil Nadu, it is pro-Congress. All communist leaders, they will canvass vote for Communist Party, Congress Party in Coimbatore, and in Palakkad, they will oppose Congress. In Coimbatore, they support Congress. Just 40-kilometer difference. So this will be an irony, and it will be a mockery of democracy if any such third front emerges at the national level. This is my first response to your question, sir.
Okay, I'll come to the DMK point of view now. There is a question of third front, and then there is already the rival coalition, which is UPA, which is existing already. Now in UPA, there is a question sometime back, Mamata Banerjee, West Bengal CM, she said there is no UPA. And then suddenly we see other chief ministers getting together where Congress is not a partner and Congress is the leader of UPA. Now from DMK point of view, Mr. Elangovan, whether it could be a UPA minus Congress or you think a third front can emerge?
Thank you for the question, and I must also thank my friend Professor Srinivasan on this, because they were always not for third front. When the Bharatiya Janasangh was there, They did not want to create a third front. They merged with Janata Party. And they were the second front. Then subsequently, they once again came out to form the BJP. See, we are not talking about a third front. We are talking about a federal front. Federalism is in danger now. What we feel is one India, one nation, one everything is not federalism, it's anti-federalism. That is where we are fighting. We want to create a third front. The state should have more powers to rule their people. The state should decide on the development of the people of that particular state. But for one example, I can tell you, in Tamil Nadu, we have a system called Universal Public Distribution System, just one thing, which means every household will have a public distribution card, ration card. But in the rest of the states in India, they have ration card only for the below poverty line people. So now when you say one nation, one ration, will you accept the model we are following, or will you push us to take up the model which you are following is the question. Federalism means the state should have more powers to rule and to help the people. In education, you see, Tamil Nadu was the first state to ensure that people, children study, come to school. We were the first state to introduce midday noon meal scheme. And the dropout rate of students is very less in Tamil Nadu when compared to other states. So the question of federalism is that leave the states, let the states work for the people of that state. That includes everything, that including reservation, including development, including admission to medical colleges, I can say, which is where we are facing the problem now. So federal, third front or second front is not the question. We oppose to the we are opposing the policies of one nation concept. India was never one nation. Until 1947, India was never one nation. Even after that, many kings, the government had to go to the kings, and they were paying privy purse until 1970, which means it is a rented country. The entire country was not one nation, and a sizable area of the country was ruled by separate kings. Even in the south, south of Vindhyas, we had three major empires: Hyderabad, Travancore, and Mysore. The remaining part was ruled by the Britishers. Maybe they are under the control of the Britishers, that is different. But they cannot elect a representative to the state Tamil Nadu Assembly, Madras Presidency Assembly. So India was never a country. We thought that our policies, our culture, our language will be respected if we stand together. We will respect others' culture, policy, and language. We want our policy, culture, and language should be respected. That is the only thing. That is the federalism. I think that federalism alone will ensure that the people of a particular state speaking a particular language, because India was divided into linguistic states, particular language will be protected if a federal front is formed, which it will fight for the same. That is our idea.
So what would be the shape of that federal front? My
small
question was that. Okay, let me finish this question. You will answer and then I'll come to you. What would be the shape of that federal front? Whether it will have Congress, whether it will not have Congress, who will provide the leadership?
If the Congress at the center is willing to give more powers to the state, Congress will be in the federal front.
What do you mean by giving more powers? Giving up the leadership
See,
position?
I'll tell you, we had state autonomy. To review the constitution, we had formed committees which will give more power to the states. There were 2 committees, and the government of India also set up a committee, Sarkariya Commission, to go into the powers of the states. So if that commission reports are accepted, any government, whichever government, whether if the BJP, if the Congress accepts that, we will go with the Congress, because Our problem, we are a state party. We are the first regional party in the whole of India, I can
My
say.
question was, sir, about the leadership position in a structure. You can name it UPA, you can name it Federal Front, or whatever nomenclature you give. Are you saying that Congress is welcome in that front, provided they give up their claim to the leadership position? Because there are other claimants also. Recently, we have seen Telangana CM going to Maharashtra. Maharashtra CM is there. Bengal CM is there. Then if some turnaround happens in Uttar Pradesh, there will be another claimant. So are you saying in this whole structure, the Congress is welcome only when it gives up the leadership position? I have a very direct question.
It has nothing to do with the leadership position. The question of leadership does not arise. It is a question of policy. We are talking about policy. If the Congress accepts our policy, definitely will accept Congress as our leader.
So what the
Congress
policy
is in our
would be?
alliance now. I am talking about federalism, state autonomy. That is the basis for federalism.
So if Congress accept that this is the way it would run the country, so you are okay to work under Congress leadership?
Yes.
Okay, that's a very welcome statement for Congress leader. But I'll come to the BJP leader. He wanted to make a point.
Just one small objection to what Annan Elangovan told. If India was never a country before British came, how could British establish an East Indian Company in 1598? Even when British never visited this country, they registered a company in London named as East Indian Company. India was there in the history. Columbus wanted to discover a new sea way to India only, not to America. So India was the word widespread across the world, and in India, it was introduced by the British. இந்தியா ஒரு நாடாக எப்போதும் இருந்ததில்லை என்று சொன்னால் தமிழ்நாடும் எப்போதும் ஒரு மாநிலமாக இருந்ததில்லை. இங்கே சேர சோழ பாண்டிய இப்படி தான் இருந்தோம். இங்கே புதுக்கோட்டையில் ஒரு சமஸ்தானம், ராமநாதபுரத்தில் ஒரு சமஸ்தானம். This was the kingdom. It was never one state. But after 1947 only Tamil Nadu became one state. It is very surprise to our audience, the very word One India, it was given by DMK. When our Dayanidhi Maran, respected Maran, was the cabinet minister for telecommunications, he coined that word One India. What you described as One India, we are saying as one nation. What's the difference, sir? Both are same. And providing ration card and providing ration are two different things. That is left for other thing. Congress only dissolved DMK government twice. Honorable Karunanidhi ji government was dissolved twice. Now our Elangovan Annan, he wants assurance by the Peter Annan that in future Congress should not dissolve DMK if the DMK forged an alliance with the Congress.
Okay, I would expect Mr. Alphonse to respond to that, his idea of India.
See, I think my friend Srinivasan is a little confused about nation and country. India is an old country, but a young nation. That's the difference. Mere culture, language, religion, they cannot make one country. If one religion can make one country, Nepal should have been a part of India. If Islam can be the uniting factor of a nation, then why the necessity for so many Islamic countries? And the day before yesterday, Omar Abdullah was here. He was telling us, when he left Srinagar, the temperature was -5 degrees. When he landed in Chennai, it was 35 plus. This country cannot be together, cannot be treated as a one single block. Everyone has got our own expression. You are only answerable to the Constitution. The Constitution made you and me. The Constitution made the Union. The Constitution made the states. And we are not the creation of the Union government. We are the creation of the Indian Constitution. And very sorry to say that I don't agree to the third friend or federal friend. What we need is an alternative narrative today to the strong, rightist, fundamentalist, hate politics. We need an alternative narrative, and that narrative we have to form through various political parties, and all of us have got compulsions. But this is the time when we come out of the compulsions to save this country, to save the idea of India. This is not the way the country was contemplated. This is not the guarantee that was given to us by the forefathers who made the Constitution. And as you said, we make substantial contribution to the GDP. And what is it we get it back? Even last week, you appoint postal employees. You appoint 1,000 people for Tamil Nadu to deliver the mails, to see the address in the nook and corner of Tamil Nadu. But you recruit people from Gujarat, from Haryana, from Madhya Pradesh. What for? And you don't have the transparency how our funds are deployed. You are collecting lakhs and lakhs of crores. We are legitimately entitled to the union revenue. And how is that you levy every tax as it says and deny the legitimate enlightenment of a state? And we had a planning commission. We know how the money of the union government is spent. And every state will come with proposals. The union government will sit with them, finalize a draft, release it to the press, and will understand that this state government is getting so much, the central contribution is so much. Now, where is the planning commission? You are reduced to a department in the Prime Minister's office. And you say that you are a double engine government. What is the double engine government? In UP, you got a double engine government. In Madhya Pradesh, you got a double engine government. In Tamil Nadu, you got a single engine government. If the BJP is not in power, you will call it a single engine government. So what do you say? You want one party, one country. How can such a big nation can be represented by one single leader or one single party? And as my friend Mr. Elangovan said, the Congress understands the voices of the regional aspirations. It respects the regional culture. The country can never be one country, one religion, one language, and one party. That can never be. That can never be. If that comes, then India breaks. Then it is not carried out according to the Constitution. So the need of the hour is a narrative, an alternative narrative. That kind of narrative have to be taken along. That is what our leader, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, said on the other day. He said, I am a Tamilian. How can I be a Tamilian? Everybody should feel. And you may say that whenever there was a substantial contribution by the regional parties at the center, the governance was much better. The delivery was much better. You take all the landmark laws, including the Right to Information Act, the right to food, the right to work, the right to education. All these laws were promulgated, enacted only when the federal parties have got a substantial contribution in the running of the government at the center. We never lagged behind whenever there was a national cause. Whenever there was a disaster, whenever there is an aggression on the borders, the regional parties were the first to come and contribute to the national cause. And patriotism is not the monopoly of a single political party. And we contributed substantially to the freedom circle to more than any other state, to any other part of this country. So, now the country is facing such a situation never unprecedented in the post-independent history. Everything is at stake. Every democratic institution is reduced to crumbling. The parliament is not functioning to the full. Parliament is not, where there is a ruling party and an opposition party. We form the part of the same coin, both sides of the same coin. But how the parliament is run? And the system of democracy is by discussion, as you said. Now you ask questions, I answer. I raise a question, my friend Srinivasan will answer. Where is our Prime Minister who has answered press people for the past 7 years? Is it not democracy? Democracy is not enshrined in the Constitution. So now, this is not an alternative political front. This is an alternative political narrative to the rightist, fundamentalist, strong identity politics of hate, to which we want to create a sound, democratic, secular government with the principles of social justice, respecting every religion, respecting every language, respecting every culture, respecting every part of India. That is the two alternatives. And in these alternatives, I think the AIADMK should also will join. They may not have any grudge against that. If they are truly a regional party.
Coalitions are already forming here. But before he responds, I would like to continue with the same question.
Just quick response to what he said, 1 minute response.
Okay.
In terms of social justice centered alternate narrative, ADMK is next to none in terms of making that statement. The one who first gave 50% to backward classes is MGR. The one who moved that to 69% is Madam Amma. Okay, this is irrefutable facts there, alive, in terms of reservation, which is one aspect of social justice. We've been pioneers, and the only issue we have in the invitation for social justice platform, not the narrative, is that the one who is extending the arm of social justice has been very anti-social justice. That has been our issue in terms of not joining in the front based on social justice. Our issue is that we have lived social justice true to our heart, while the party which is inviting, most of the times have not lived their word. That's the reason we didn't join in. Otherwise, in the alternate narrative, except that what you said about the alternate narrative of diversity and freedom of expression, democratic institutions getting cramped up, we don't think it is true, frankly, in terms of being a part of NDA. The leader is BJP, and I don't see any place where there have been undemocratic stuff. Yeah, we've been demanding a lot more of sharing for the state. Yes, we've been doing that. But this idea of one nation and any separatist tendencies being put down ruthlessly, we are one with BJP. We have no issues about it. Even the narrative that you're talking about, Pondriya Arasu, is more talked about to actually have an undertone of separatist tendencies. Honestly, what we are really doing, why are we constantly, till now we have been talking Mathiya Arasu, Mayya Arasu, and suddenly why does the narrative become Ondriya Arasu, Edo Kundriya Arasu madri varudhu? Idenna kada. I think some of these, in the last 10 months, we have seen many separatist undertones in Tamil Nadu. And to us, we are not part of it. We are as strongly national. It's a nation, country, both ways India has been one, in my view. Culturally, I think the kind of integration we have had in India, we have not had in most other countries. So I don't think there's anything, whether it's a nation or a country, we've been one very deep in the core of our cultural ethos. So to me, that's my response. Yeah, thank you.
One second, sir. Before I let you speak, sir, just because I could not pronounce this Dr. Thiruma Valavan and VCK has only one Lok Sabha MP, I should not keep him quiet. Sorry, two. Sorry, so I should not keep you quiet. Now, both parties, BJP and Congress, both are claiming that they represent the federal aspirations and regional aspirations also. If Congress had actually represented regional aspirations, probably there would not have been so many regional parties now in many states. And if BJP had fulfilled the regional aspirations, then there would not have been talk of the third front. So in these two contexts, how do you see the regional parties coming together, especially the smaller parties, because the bigger parties which will have major chunk of the Lok Sabha seats, say for DMK or alternatively AIADMK or TMC or Shiv Sena, they would definitely be in the leadership position, but always the others also determine a lot. Others from Tamil Nadu, others from Bihar, others from Gujarat, every state will have 2-3 others. How do you see the smaller parties playing a role in this whole structure?
First of all, I would like to express my thanks for giving this opportunity. And I would like to appreciate India Today Group for this great initiative to discuss about the federal system in our country. This is high time to discuss about federalism. I would like to clarify that there is a difference between federal front and political parties front. We are mostly talking about political parties alliance, whether it is third front or alternative front. We are talking about this. But I want to emphasize that our constitution gives federalism for our national integration. Federalism is nothing but a form of government at the center and state, two governmental setup. What for? This is for our national integration. This is for our national unity. We are not against unity, but we are against unitary. Now we are running government at the center as a unitary government, not as a federal government. But our government, now our constitution provides two set of governmental mechanism. A union government at the center, state government at peripheries. These are the two government mechanisms in our country. So we are talking about, mainly we have to discuss, we are implementing the federal system in our country or not. That is very important. Our government at the center is really following the constitution or not. That is main question. We are protecting federalism in our country, whether we are implementing or not. That is very important question. So federal front is entirely different from political parties alliance. Regional parties or national parties, third front or alternative front, that is not very important now. That is not important. Our Professor Srinivasan says, third front always danger to the party. So only two parties, bipolar politics is needed for our country. That is his opinion. Usually, pure democratic leaders or parties or individuals will admit pluralism, multiple party system, multiple alliances. That is very important. Autocratics only not allowing third front or multiple system. Only they will make unitary government, one nation, one party, one rule, one culture, like that. We are not against one India. But BJP has an agenda, that hidden agenda. The BJP has a hidden agenda to make one nation on the basis of Hindu Rashtraam, on the basis of religious culture. One nation, what for? One culture. One nation, what for? One religion. One nation, what for? One language. So they have a great conspiracy behind their agenda. That's what we are criticizing, their agenda. One India is not our problem. We are not against one India. We are for one India on the basis of the constitution, on the basis of the federal structure, on the basis of the federalism. The written constitution is the supremacy in federal system. Two set of governmental system must be followed in federal structure. Union government has no territory, but state government has territory. You can say union territory. Pondicherry is a union territory. Delhi is union territory. Tamil Nadu is not a union territory. So union has no separate territory, own territory. It is made by constitution only. It's not based on agreement in between state governments. It is made by the constitution, but this must be protected for our national integration, for protection of our country. That is very important. So we must discuss about the federalism and federal structure on the basis of constitution, but at the center, whichever government, BJP or Congress, they must follow the constitution to protect our nation on the basis of the constitution, to protect the federalism. That is very important. They are not treating local governments or state governments as equal. They are centralizing all powers at the center. For what? To save the country, to protect our country. Otherwise, it will break up in the future. Why do you bother about the breaking of nation? Unless you are not implementing the constitution. You are not ready to implement the constitution properly. You are not ready to follow the federalism. You are not ready to protect our federal structure which provided by constitution. That is very important. Pluralism is very important factor for democracy. Not majoritarianism. Not only majoritarianism is the democracy. Pluralism also a factor of democracy. That is very important. So multiple party, multiple religion, multiple culture, multiple language must be protected in our country. Then only we can protect our nation as one India. One India must be needed. We are not against one India. One nation is very dangerous because one nation means Hindu Rashtraam on the basis of religion, on the basis of language. Only one language, Hindi. Only one religion, Hindu. Only one culture, Hindu culture. Only one nation, Hindu nation. Only one country, Hindu Rashtraam. That is your agenda. This is against constitution, anti-democracy. That's what we are talking about federal front. This is high time to discuss about the federalism. Decentralization of power is the democracy. Decentralization of power. This is the federalism. Power should be decentralized, not should be at the center. That is very important. So I am not bothering about the political parties alliance. That is a strategy to replace the BJP at the center. That's all. To protect our constitution in future, we need an alternative front on the basis of federal policy. That's all. We include all democratic forces to defeat religious forces, caste-oriented forces. This is disastrous to the nation. The religious politics, caste-oriented politics, language-oriented politics, this will split the country. This is more danger to our nation. So what? That's what we are trying to make a political alliance in alternative form, not a third front. I don't agree with that term, third front. That is alternative front. Alternative front. It may be Congress also included. Congress also included in this alternative front. If you say third front, you mean BJP, Congress. Other than BJP and Congress, all are called as third front. We are not for this point. We are including Congress. We have to make alternative front to defeat religious political agenda in future. To protect our nation through protection of constitution, which provide federalism and allow all multiple system in our country, multiple culture in our country, multiple language in our country. It is very important in this time. This is high time to discuss. This is my point.
It seems that third front has already been killed on this stage. One side has gone with NDA, one side has gone with UP and the Congress leadership, and V.C.K. is ready to whichever front will accommodate regional aspirations and interests. It will support that front. So there is end to third front on this stage at least. But coming back to...
You don't...
I have certain clarifications to make, simple
Yes,
clarifications.
I'll come to
time. Yeah.
Mr. Elangovan. This is the question actually for you. What happens is that when regional parties take charge and too much decentralization happens, then the focus loses. Means as a country, we need uniform policies on certain issues, but regional interests become conflicting. What may be of interest to Karnataka may not be of interest to Tamil Nadu, when the Kaveri water dispute will happen, who will mediate? Or you should take into account the common interest of the country. At the same time, this whole Hindi, for instance, the Hindi not being accepted, I am not talking about the imposition, but the lack of knowledge of Hindi, as you all have discussed also, that it has always been an handicap for a party from, say, Tamil Nadu or Karnataka to take the center stage. For instance, someone from Gujarat could sell a Gujarat model. Someone from Bengal can also sell a Bengal model, but it's very difficult to, as he was talking about social justice model. So it's very difficult to sell it across the state, across the country. So don't you think that there is also a need, the talk of one India, I'm not talking of religion or other things, but certain uniformity, for instance, your ration card, you were talking about, you said about ration card, one ration card will create a problem, but at the same time, if you give ration card to everyone in the state, it also adds pressure to the state exchequer, and Tamil Nadu debt ratio is very high. So on those things, there is a need of an uniformity. So in that context, how do you see the future of Tamil Nadu leadership? Any party, it could be any party, a Tamil becoming the Prime Minister of India. Don't you think that prospect will always be hampered if you do not take part in this uniform narrative?
Thank you. I am an Indian. First thing, I am an Indian. But I am happy that I am a Tamilian because Tamil Nadu has grown. See, there are about 30 states in the country. If India is ruling the country, every state will be on par with each other in employment, education, everything. But Tamil Nadu has developed, is number one because it is ruled by a state party. We know the interest of the people. Earlier also, when I said that different cultures, different practices were in different religions, I was not talking about against India. See, there was Gupta Empire, Magadha Empire, they were both fighting. Here, Chera, Sola were fighting. There were many countries. So when Britishers came in, we stood together. So we are Indians. When there was a war in Pakistan, Bangladesh war, the Tamil Nadu's contribution to the center, the DMK's contribution was much higher, I can say. So we are Indians. All we want is that our right should be, I am an Indian because I must feel that my language should be respected, my individuality should be respected. I should be, the only role of any civilized government in this year, 2022, a constitutional government, a democratic government, is to provide socio-economic security to its citizens. Don't trust language. Don't trust religion. Provide socio-economic security to its citizens. That is the only role of any government, be it the state government or the union government. It is not central. Central is a misnomer. He said, why you are not using that misnomer? It is the government of India. India is a union of states, is the first word in the constitution. Union means Undriyam. That's all. The meaning of the word union is Undriyam.
Just a quick
I
one.
need your response on this, that he said that regional parties, Tamil Nadu has become number one because it has been ruled by regional parties. In a way, he's dismissing the role of national parties. Do you agree with that
I'm
point
not
of view?
doubting that. Even 1967, Congress under Perindalevar Kamarajar was there. Some of the seats for education today were sown by him. So I don't think there's been a good continuity.
I am once again I differ from him. It was started during the Justice Party rule way back in 1920.
I'm just coming to it. The only difference is between DMK and AIADMK. For a long time, since the Justice Party days, the definition of DMK became anti-Hindu, anti-Brahmin, and anti-Hindi. Anti-North India. So the certain DNA was rooted there. And I'm very delighted to see K. Zanan make a bold proclamation. This is probably the first time I'm hearing a DMK functionary at his level. I am an Indian first. I'm very delighted that India Today at least has prompted him to make this statement very openly.
That
And
is
I'm very-
because
very
my
openly.
constitution, Article 25 says
Yeah, yeah.
that I have the freedom of conscience.
Yeah, yeah.
I have the freedom of religion.
Correct.
So freedom of conscience means when I say that there is no God, I can be an atheist.
No,
Freedom of
no
religion
issues,
means
no
I can
issues.
follow any religion.
No issues, no
So
issues.
the constitution, fundamental rights has given me so many rights
Yeah.
that I am proud to be
Correct,
an
correct,
Indian.
correct. All that I'm saying is, from where DMK was, it had come very significant distance. And I think in the last 10 months, the only thing where we have an issue, okay, one in terms of governance, there's always been a competition between DMK and ADMK. Every 5 years, it's been alternating, except the last 10 years where we have led Tamil Nadu. And that was the time from number 5, Tamil Nadu has become number 2 in terms of GDP and everything. Every indicator India Today has chosen to measure, we have contributed to make Tamil Nadu as Tamil Nadu first. And in terms of the social parameters, social philosophy, social justice, in every manner we have done it. So we believe that if there is a party which could truly make a federal front out of NDA, it would be ADMK. That's my only submission at this point in time.
So I need 2 quick responses from the national parties, both Congress and BJP representatives. Though they claim to be national parties, both are actually not national parties in the true sense that BJP doesn't have much presence in the south of India. Congress is shrinking almost everywhere. And there is a kind of hostility from the regional parties towards the national parties, these 2 national parties. Why has it been so that why both national parties, so-called national parties, have failed to some way fulfill the regional aspirations? And they are always, both parties are always controlled by high command, which is creating a lot of dissidence also in states. So quick responses from both Congress and BJP leadership.
The national parties, they were designed during the freedom movement. At that point of time, there was only one political issue from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, freedom for the country. Now, we have got what we call is a competitive federalism, where every state has got its own interest, its own ideas, its own views, and its own problems. My problem is not the problem of the Northeast. And I and Northeast people can never see a thing in one single perspective. So as you said, there are disputes with regard to sharing of interstate waters. A national party cannot take a stand. And the state party alone can be very specific, can be oriented towards a state interest. Because all the deliveries are made through the state government. Whether be it road, be it hospital, be it education, be any other basic requirements of life, only the state government is interested to do the job. And why the national parties have failed? Because there is no transparency. See, you collect tax, and how the tax money is deployed. According to the political system, you manipulate things, you make use of the tax money collected from the whole country and spend in 5 or 6 states and secure 300 seats and leaving the rest of the country to dogs. And I pay my tax. Am I not expected to get a reasonable share in the tax money? Why should I pay for the...
Sir, I am asking why Congress has shrunk.
Yep, I told you it is an alternative narrative. And I said,
Congress has shrunk before this narrative came in.
See, as you said, there is no national party now. You have to accept that. And the so-called national parties are only glorified regional parties. So that we cannot argue on air. We have to understand the ground realities. Now, every citizen of India has started thinking through the prism of his state. And you see the BJP ministers, why they make reservation for all their jobs, 80%, 90% to the persons of their states when they speak about a national politics. Haryana passes an act where they won't give employment to others. Karnataka passes an act, they won't give employment to others. And there, how can there be one India and one culture? So, these are all political fraud, I will call. This is high time. And you want to safeguard the one India, as Elangovan said, allow me to express myself as a Tamilian. then I will blossom as an Indian. And you cannot kill me, kill my instinct, kill my culture, kill my language. You have got 52 Kendra Vidyalayas in Tamil Nadu. Have you got a single Tamil teacher in any one of the Kendra Vidyalayas? Who is paying the salary to the Kendra Vidyalaya staff? Is it not from my taxpayers' money? And why students from studying in Kendra Vidyalaya and Tamil Nadu should not have the privilege of learning Tamil in those institutes? Tamil is not the language of India. It is not a language under the Indian Constitution. So that is there. So political boundaries, they have to be erased. And political narrative have to be arrived at. As Thirumaalavan said, it is not a third friend. It is an alternative friend. And we are working towards that. And every one of us is willing to compromise, willing to sacrifice, just to save the country, to save India, not Tamil Nadu. Our mission for the alternative front is to save the Constitution, to save democracy, to save the social justice, and finally save India.
Dr. Thirumavalavan, you have a response.
Just I want to mention one point that the regional party, we are saying that BJP, Congress, national parties, all other parties are regional parties. According to our constitution, 8th schedule, including Tamil, there are 22 languages are there. Constitution says these are all national languages, not regional languages. Tamil is not a regional language. According to the constitution, Tamil is also a national language. So, state level parties are also national parties. How do you say that DMK is a regional party, VCK is a regional party? We have national view, we have national interest, we have national agenda. We are working for national unity. We are working for to protect our constitution. So we have national view, national responsibility.
The election
so
commission has
VCK
certain
also,
guidelines to declare a party a national party.
No,
so there is a definition.
Election commission recognized
It's under
as
the
a
Constitution of
election
India. So
commission
there is a
recognized-
definition for national party.
Election commission recognized a territorial-based grounds. That's all. But
Are you saying
ideological
that
strength
that
is very
definition is
important.
wrong?
Ideological strength is very important. Ideological view, ideological approach is very important. We have to say all political parties in the country are national parties. We are not against the nation. We are working in our Tamil Nadu, but we have national view and national interest. How can you say that VCK is you can say smaller party, or state level party, but not regional party. This is national party.
But
So this is my point. This is my point. I am having responsibility to protect our nation, to protect our constitution, to protect our national unity. So that is very important. That's what we are talking about federalism. Otherwise, we don't bother about it. So, a regional party can lead for making an alternative front in future to protect our nation.
But
So,
your party must
DMK
convince
also-
people
DMK
across the
also-
country that you represent their concerns.
Already DMK initiated to form a national front to defeat religious-oriented forces, which is against the nation and interest of the people. So that is our motto. But I emphasize that we have to discuss about the constitution which provide federalism. That is very important. NEET is anti-federalism. NEET. They are centralizing all powers to the center, to the Delhi. So that is very dangerous one.
IIT entrance has been going on for years.
Pardon?
IIT entrance exam, engineering entrance exam, they're
Okay.
all centralized, means one exam.
Yeah.
So how is NEET different from that?
Everything we have to antagonize.
How does it matter?
Yeah, definitely they have to drop it. No need. State level government will make
No, my
will
question
do
is
any
different.
entrance
My question
examinations.
is how NEET for medical entrance if you have
No,
one
no
common
need.
exam.
No.
How is
The
that an
state
attack on
government has
federalism?
power.
I'll tell you,
State government has power to.
One nimsham. See, IIT is run by the union government. But the state government runs medical colleges in this state
By our own funds.
with the policy that every district will have one medical college. It is funded by the state government for the sake of the people living in Tamil Nadu, and students should be selected from the people of Tamil Nadu. That is run by us. So why you take 50% or 20% from that?
That's where the regional aspirations versus national aspirations
we build medical colleges,
because
we
Tamil
pay
Nadu
the
will think
teachers
about Tamil Nadu
for
only.
the sake of that is the state government's role.
Say 1 minute.
That is the state's role.
But that's the conflict.
see,
That is not against any other state. We don't say that other states should not start medical colleges.
But
Let them also start.
there is a regional disparity.
See, the IIMs, IITs, and all the central universities, as he said, they are funded by the central government, in which I have got a share. But here, Kilpauk Medical College, Stanley Medical College, run by the state government funds, where the union government doesn't have a single share. But sir, you brought that need is not.
But need is not part of this discussion.
No, that need is not the present need, you see. That need was stayed by the Supreme Court. It was given by Go-by. And as long as Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister, Kalaignar was the Chief Minister, there was no need. Jayalalitha was the Chief Minister. Only when your Palanichami came, need came in. See,
for a long time, the BJP representative has been silent, and that can happen only in south of India. So,
because both
as I asked the
Congress,
same question to
both Congress and DMK, they are violent on us. I need to be silent for some time. மருத்துவக் கல்லூரியில் நாங்கள் தான் கட்டணும் தமிழ்நாட்டில். அதனால் எங்களுக்கு தான் உரிமை. என்ன தமிழ்நாட்டில் இருக்கிற எல்லா ஜெயிலும் கூட நீங்கள் தானே கட்டியிருக்கிறீங்க, நீங்கள் தான் இங்கே போய் இருப்பேன்னு கிளைம் பண்ணக்கூடாது. தவறு செஞ்சவங்க தான் ஜெயிலுக்கு போக முடியும், தகுதி உள்ளவங்க தான் மருத்துவக் கல்லூரியில் படிக்க முடியும். For your information, all the medical colleges recently, why did you invite Honorable Prime Minister to inaugurate 11-12 medical colleges in Tamil Nadu? Because every medical college, it gets a huge central fund. Central government is funding. Then why did you invite? You would have opened all the medical colleges. Why did you invite Honorable Prime Minister? See, all these projects get central funds, and healthcare is the concurrent list. So both center and state, they have stakes in this claim. And only after need do you come to say 15% reservation that it goes to All India quota? Even before that, when Congress was ruling, what was the ratio of the All India quota? It was 15%. After NEET, it is only an entrance test, only eligibility test. No change in reservation, no change in social justice, no change in anything. Only simply test. Your 69% reservation is disturbed by this NEET, 15% All India quota. So through this NEET, some North Indian students may come 15% quota that was created by Congress government. I will finish. But at the same time, every Tamil student, he has got equal opportunity to capture 15% of the seats in all other states in this country. This Tamil, yes, no, their colleges, even UP, 6 new colleges have been opened. So this is the thing. And there too, this 15%, it was provided by Anand Peter, not by Modi ji. It was given by the Congress government. The MCI, it framed rules in Congress government, not by BJP. And you say what BJP doesn't say. You say BJP says one religion. You quote me at least one leader, one document, one principle of BJP saying there must be only one religion in this country. I will resign from the party. We will not contest here after elections.
Everywhere you are speaking, everywhere you are
No,
doing
sir, there is no official document.
All over the country
Sir,
you are doing this.
with respect to Annan Tirumavalavan, I am saying, I am representing BJP here. We don't say one religion. On behalf of BJP, I am announcing here, all religions are equal.
What do you mean by one culture?
One culture.
How can you make one culture?
One
equal?
culture means, this is not BJP slogan, sir. This was said by Max Muller. This was said by Madam Kama. This was said by Annie Besant. All the glorious Western scholars, they have described this country as one nation, one culture. And I will finish. I will finish. One culture. So it is not that this is the hegemonization. We see unity in diversity. BJP's policy is seeing unity in diversity. And DMK is seeing diversity in the unity. This is the difference. I appreciate India Today Conclave today. Because India Today, they have made DMK to accept I am an Indian first.
Indian first.
And they have made my honorable brother Tol Tirumavalavan that I am also a national party. So this is the success of the India Today Conclave today. Both of them become nationals
No,
today.
he is wrong.
And
it is not
never,
Max
never,
Miller.
never,
We
ever-
want Thiruvalluvar,
Anna.
not Max Miller.
One thing.
Thorapokkum ella uyirkum.
Never ever BJP told one language, sir. We glorify all the languages. Hindi is only official language.
I like to only
Hindi
say-
is only an administrative language. If anyone claims that Hindi is the only national language, BJP would be the first party to fight it.
Yeah.
We will be protesting it. Hindi is one of the national languages, and convenience sake it has been made as an official language of this country or administrative language of this country. Never accuse with false allegations, please.
Answer this together, sir.
please.
Every
With humble, just
They
half a
said-
minute.
they said
Half
they
a minute. I will finish in half a minute, sir. Sorry. When Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister, he established one public sector, Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited, BSNL. All the public sector established by Congress government, it all starts with the word Hindustan. Hindustan photo films, Hindustan aeronautics, every Hindustan petroleum. You only termed this as Hindustan. We tell this as Bharat.
See, I will ask my friend Srinivasan. When you say that there is when we say one language, one religion, one culture, are you denying the ideological basis of your forefathers on which you swore? What is the concept of the RSS? What is the fundamental thought process of the RSS? Whether RSS, the ideological forefathers of the RSS, they say that Muslims and Christians can only be a second-class citizens in India.
No.
Am I not Punjab Thoughts?
No,
Is it not mentioned in Punjab Thoughts?
President of the Minority Commission in Tamil Nadu, sir. BJP leaders, BJP
See, how can your UP Chief Minister says this is an election between 80 versus 20? How can he say that?
Okay.
80, this is an election between 80 versus 20. Who is the 20?
Okay.
Who is the 80? You speak one thing and do another thing. You say that you equally respect all language. I thought, what is the allotment of funds for the development of Tamil language? You provide 600 crores to Sanskrit.
Okay.
How much of money you provide for Tamil?
Okay.
That is why I asked the question, 52 Kendra Vidyalayas. You, Mr. Srinivasan, you please ask your Human Resources Development Ministry.
When you were ruling the country, how much funds you allotted for Tamil, sir? 10 years you were ruling Congress.
They're not.
How much fund you allotted for Tamil?
There was no allotment for
In
Sanskrit.
Kendriya Vidyalaya, how many Tamil teachers you appointed when you were ruling?
I only asked one.
Is Tamil was the syllabus in the Kendriya Vidyalaya when 60 years you were ruling? And all the allegations. When I say which is one India, you object. But when you were ruling, you were selling Indra da India, India da Indra.
Okay.
This was your emergency slogan.
Mr. Srinivasan, you have got always a knack of going to the history 50 years back, 60 years back. We have never discussed history here. We discuss only the present day here.
Okay.
And this is a necessity. Why there is a necessity for a federal front? I say federal front is needed because my language is sidelined. I say federal front is needed because I am not given my due share in the tax revenue. I say federal front is needed. The central government.
Let AIADMK have the last word.
I need to ask only one question to Dr. Thirumalavan. He's not been. I want him to respond to this. This country is one country, sir, mainly because of one man, Dr. Ambedkar, who created the constitution in a way that you can be flexible and everything. He created 3 lists, sir. State list, center list, concurrent list. There's only one party which has always moved the things which are in the state list to concurrent list. That party is Congress party. This you have to accept. Education went from state list to concurrent list during Congress regime.
Misa period, emergency
Congress,
period.
We are
Congress,
running out of time.
Very much Congress.
We are running out
Very
of
much
time.
Congress.
Now I would
So you
take
tell
the
me
final
whether
response from
anything has been
DMK.
shifted from the state list to concurrent list by BJP or
a
NDA.
quick
Our
response.
Sir, I have only
constitution-
one
Anna,
final
Anna,
clock.
Anna, our constitution allows that federalism in emergency time, unitary government, that means unitary form. in emergency or crisis time, it may be very strong.
After that 15 years Congress rule, sir, they could have brought it
Other
back to
normal situation, it must be a federalism. There is a highly flexibility in our constitution. So, 1976 Misa period,
as we are running out of time, my final question, and I need a quick answer.
I will finish my point. Please.
Sir, we are running out of time. Sorry, sir.
Mafa sir,
the Honorable CM
our
is on
brother
his
Mafa
way.
asked me, our Dr. B.R. Ambedkar says that our constitution, very highly flexible one. In emergency or any crisis period, our constitution will be a federal system. Our nation will be there, like that. And normal conditions, peaceful time, it will be.
But it never came back, sir.
Emergency time, unitary. Emergency. Pardon?
Education, concurrent list Congress period. It never came back to the state list. That's why you get a neat kind of.
We need to wind up.
Constitution is
sorry,
flexible at the time of emergency.
I need a quick response, sir, from you on your point.
Oh,
Plus,
right. So
all the CMs are making rounds to other CMs. Mamata Banerjee is meeting Kejriwal.
Now our government,
KCR is
BJP
meeting
government
other.
can do it.
When is Stalin starting?
BJP government can do it.
Meeting other
They
CMs.
should transfer
No,
to the
the
state
problem
list.
is that the center, one India, one nation, one concept, they are developing and spreading. So this will take away the rights of the states. Even electricity should be controlled by the union government is wrong. Something is not acceptable to us. See, the culture of, I want to finish it with one line. South of the Vindhyas, there were 4 major kingdoms, Chera, Chola, Pandya and Pallava. In none of the kingdoms, the kings were Kshatriyas. Because south of Vindhyas was an equanimous society. Whereas in north, only Kshatriyas can become kings. Where Manu Dharma plays a role. We are against it. It is not our culture. We want to have our own culture, which is practiced for many thousands of years. And what the Thiruvalluvar says, all men are born equal, should be there, for which we are fighting. We will fight it out. We will take people from the north, from all regional parties for this policy. That's all.
I wish we could have continued this discussion. Sorry, sir, we'll have to wind up. Already half an hour extra.
Srinivasan said,
I'm very sorry,
he
we'll have to
believes
wind
that
up.
BJP believes
sorry,
that
sir.
unity in
Very sorry,
diversity.
sir. It's
But
already,
they believes unity in diversity only in Hindu community.
We can continue
Hindu
it-
unity,
we can
but with
continue
the
it offstage,
diversity of
sir.
caste.
We need to
They are
wind up,
not
sir. We need
unity
to
among
wind up.
all religions.
Thank you very much for
This
being
is
here
my point.
and participating in this very exciting discussion.